Wow, hello. Yes, I'm a little bit earlier than what I would be normally. There has been a lot happening today. It all kicked off when I got messages today, a whole pile of DMs to tell me, have you seen Friendly Jordies' video? And I've gone, nope. And they said, you have to watch it. So I watched it. Is all I can do. So we'll go through it and we'll sort of do it like a reaction video, because we will stop it intermittently because so that we can do the so that we can discuss it and talk about it. Hello, Dan. Hey, Joe. That app was so good. It was amazing, wasn't it? Yeah, it was pretty amazing. So we've also got to talk about Helen Dalton. She's resigned from the Fishers, Farmers and Shooters Party. The reasons being, do we actually finally have a politician in this country that has integrity? Because it would seem that she has actually resigned from her party to be independent due to integrity. I mean, based on what this Friendly Jordies episode was about, to have a politician with integrity is refreshing. So we want to talk about that. As I was wrapping up my work this afternoon, I find out that Alan Tudge has stepped down from the front bench. He's becoming a backbencher over those allegations. I've put a trigger warning across the bottom of the screen because there's going to be some really sensitive topics in that discussion. We also, apparently news has just come through that Russia has taken the power plant, the nuclear power plant. We want to have a bit of a discussion about that. That is going to be sensitive as well. We want to talk about the floods in Queensland and New South Wales. That's going to be sensitive because, unfortunately, another life has been lost. There are also huge allegations of funds and some disparity between where support's been going. And there have been allegations that if you belong to the federal government, more help is getting there. For those that have an opposition local member, they're not getting as much help. So there's allegations there. There is controversy in the V8 supercar series. It kicked off today. I am a petrol head. I love my supercars. 888 has announced that they are suing. They are launching legal action over Grove Racing and their former engineer over a breach of contract, allegedly. So that is going to go to the courts. I'll be watching that one. We want to talk about KJ a little bit, because somebody has taken up has given her credit for some information, and everyone has been saying ignore her. We want to look at some of that. Hello, Reefus. How are you? We want to talk about the Breonna Taylor case. The police officers got acquitted. There is just so much going on. So while everyone's still coming in before we get started, plus, I mean, we do want to, there's so much to talk about. Even the Friendly Jordies video contains sensitive topics. So it's just easier if I put a trigger warning to say, hey, what I'm going to do is I'm going to endeavor to timestamp each of these conversations so that if you aren't interested in something and you're watching this on replay and you're part of the replay crew, hello, welcome. Hello, Peter. I'm just still doing the introductions. I haven't even got started yet. So if you're part of the replay crew and you only just want to see one segment of it, then that's fine. But as I said, when we talk about KJ, that is a whole trigger warning. So yes, so I've pinned a trigger warning. I've got trigger warning down here. Woohoo! See, I'm getting a bit more clever. And I need to thank Osbel for the thumbnail. Even though the international politicians, we've got international politicians behaving badly, but our Australian politicians are being absolutely disgusting. Now, I also, when we talk about friendly Geordies, there have been some some really interesting Twitter feeds, particularly by Mark Lawyers, who represented Joe Dyer against Christian Porter. So they have talked, they are sitting back and wondering whether or not Peter Dutton's going to try and sue friendly Geordies, and talking about it being a test case. Now, I haven't started my law degree yet, so I can't talk about test cases or anything. But I do know I was looking at a research unit and with a researcher case, and I'm thinking I might just, there's all these cases here that involving politicians that could form part of the research thing. Dan just says, I bet he does. You know what? I think he will try. I mean, he sued that guy for retweeting a comment from another politician. So apparently also Peter Dutton is due to be on ABC Insiders on Sunday. So so then let's also take bets. Is Peter Dutton going to pull out of Insiders on Sunday? Or will Insiders have to stick to the script of scripted questions? So I'm going to start with Helen Dalton. Hello, the Fox. We're going to start with Helen Dalton because her own... The thing I love about Helen Dalton is that she does not take herself seriously, really. Where did I put it? Oh, I've lost it already. Helen Dalton. She actually has in her About Me Twitter handle, if you remember, Braz man, he referred to her as a disgusting human being. So she is not friends with, she is not friends at all with our good mate, Mr. Braz. So she says, state member for Murray, independent. She's now an independent. Ex-school teacher, disgusting human, says Deputy Premier. So that was the previous Deputy Premier. Anyway, so she actually announced, look at all the tabs. This is all the tabs for tonight. Look, all of these. Look, we have got such a busy night ahead. So this is Helen Dalton's statement. This is a statement from Helen Dalton. On Thursday, I resigned from the SFF party. So that's the Shooters, Farmers and Fishers. I will now represent Murray as an independent in New South Wales Parliament. Last week, Upper House SFF party MPs did not show up for a crucial vote on floodplain harvesting. They refused to vote down dodgy National Party law changes that allowed for excessive water take in the Northern Basin. These law changes really disadvantaged Lower Darling communities and Murray region irrigators. I've always said I'd put my electorate ahead of my party. As an independent, I'll always vote in the interests of my community. Earlier today, I spoke to my party colleagues to let them know my intention to leave. I also informed New South Wales Parliament that I will remain on the crossbench as an independent. I won't be joining or aligning with any other parties or MPs. Just before I resigned, the Shooters removed me as an administrator of my own Facebook page, then deleted it. I will need to create a new page to communicate with the constituents. Over the next year, my focus will be improving hospital and mental health services in rural New South Wales, achieving fairer water sharing arrangements across the state, and addressing the rural teacher shortage and housing crisis. As I said, a politician with integrity. Where do we see that? So because remember, she has been fighting and arguing for a fairer deal for the farmers. And that was her press release. That was her statement. Now, and we know the other thing she's not very popular about. The other thing, remember, she also did something with friendlyjordies as well. So she's not very popular this. But she is really going to town on her Facebook. Can we just clone Helen and get here? Well, I was wondering the same thing. Shooters Party deletes my Facebook page, and party leader Robert Bazak calls me the most unpopular politician on Macquarie Street. They're taking this breakup well. So someone says, disappointed you guys have booted your best voice to appease the far right ideologies and national light of the party. This will come back to bite you. Says, no, we didn't boot her. She jumped. The last 3 years of fighting with everyone has taken its toll on government. No one will talk or deal with her, no matter how we tried. She's the most unpopular politician in Macquarie Street. There's a time to fight and there's a time to talk. She doesn't know. She doesn't know when to negotiate. It's a great shame we have done so much for her. We have passed the water register bill twice, for example, and she is so unpopular she can't advance it. So low are her stocks. We'll be back in Murray with a team player and keep the Nats out. She said, not true. I don't work with other MPs. Last week, I organised for Liberal, Labor and Greens and Independents to come together to increase the age of support. Oops. We got to get rid of Charlie. Bye, Charlie. Bye, Charlie. I'm just going to put this back up. To increase their age to support foster care leavers until 21. So it says, you know, so it says, someone says, I live almost 600 k's from your electorate. I've never voted SFF and never will. And yet you're still easily one of my favourite MPs. So anyway, it's, yeah, so that was, I just love the sassiness of her. What else did you say? And then someone else says, so she's sharing all of these as well. Oops. It says, so Helen wouldn't jump when you blokes demanded it. And someone says no. And they are good for her. Statement. She said, statement on why I left the shooters party. She wouldn't jump when the blokes demanded it. So, so there she is. So I have to say, I've become very, I've found her to be quite, I have a lot of respect for her. As I said, considering that we are finding that she actually has, a politician with integrity, it's going to be very interesting. Hello, Just Doom. How are you? So we've got a politician with integrity. So shall we look at a politician that doesn't have integrity? Well, that's everyone else. So yeah, I'm doing good. Justine, how are you? So let's now discuss the friendlyjordies video. What do we have to say about that? Get the popcorn ready is correct. Just Doom, I do watch a lot of stuff. I do know that there's lots of chaos being. I see a lot. I don't say a lot, which is very unlike me. But I don't. Yeah, I stay out of a lot of it. Yeah, but we're actually talking about a video that just dropped today. So, but yes, I know all the chaos that's happening, and we're going to get to Katie Joy later because there's some funny stuff happening there as well. And don't worry, you won't actually need to watch. We're not watching any of her stuff because I can't. All right. So, the baddest MP. I mean, what did Bruz do? Just Doom. Bruz hasn't done anything. This is a senior federal government politician. Bruz is due to go to court soon. Hey, I was very disappointed. I was waiting for the affair. I was really disappointed that there's no affair. Look at the first word. Look at the first word of the video. I have to thank Osbel for my thumbnail. She sent it to me because I was going to talk about politicians from all around the world, but I've stolen it and I've used it for this one because anyway. So what we're going to do, we're going to watch it and I'm going to stop it because I don't think Friendly George, I mean, it's great if there's an affair, says Dan. Yes, and it's not the coat that you're thinking of. Do you have to take a teaching break to watch? You know what? Without a lawyer, I didn't realize I actually was watching it in between students, and I just started to walk in, and they walked in as the intro was playing, and I had to quickly. I felt like that I was being caught in something because I didn't want to have to. Yeah. Anyway, I had to take a teaching break. Joanne's got a headache. She needs to go. She needs to go for 20 minutes. No, I'm only joking. All right. So I don't think Friendly Jordies would be upset that I'm showing this on my channel, but I'm going to give him. But I would prefer that you go and watch it on his. Give him the support. He's done all the work. But I'm gonna stop it. So, just to appease the copyright gods.
Sex, drugs, big Papua New Guinea, Peter Dutton.
Wow, what an intro. What an intro. I'm just going to make this bigger. I think so because I've been taking up his cause. I've been really, but yeah, please, make sure you go give him some support. I tell you, the end, I reckon the best part was the very last line when he talks about was it Dutton's lawyer? I won't be surprised. Well, here's the other question. Is Dutton going to try and sue Google like Bruz? Because remember, Bruz has subpoenaed Google. I still can't get over that. Oh, boy. Anyway. All right. So let's go. And if you're not sure, we are Spike.
Sex, drugs, big cars, Papua New Guinea, Peter Dutton. This story has it all.
The story has it all. The Fox says I watched it early today. Probably watch it again. So much to take in. There was. My jaw was like, and I'll go, what happens next anyway? This is about Peter Dutton, and it's all of that.
Perhaps most importantly, it'll expose the webs of patronage created by the Liberal Party as supposed public servants and prove that they are ultimately facilitated by the highest public office holders in the country. The same office holders that are not only weaponizing the spectre of national security in order to desperately hold on to power, but are also using it to help their friends profiteer at the expense of actual Australian security. What I'm essentially saying is the deep state exists, sure, but it's not what you think it is. It's not just a bunch of shady operators in suits. It also includes a bunch of coked up young libs in Queensland.
Coked up young, I tell you, he's got all the puns. Coked up young libs in Queensland. So much for taking their episodes of Doctor Who that are less complicated. And this is just Dutton. What else? I mean, who else? What? I mean, we've already seen Bruz. Thank you, Bella. Bella's just putting trigger warning. As I said, we've all got lots of there's trigger warnings right throughout this whole video. This is going to be, I already know that this is going to be orange, so it's fine. Enjoy.
Because this story has everything, you're going to have to bear with me introducing some new characters to the Friendly Jordies canon. It starts with a little-known company called SCD Remake.
It's interesting. Think of the Pandora code was less confusing. Plan to Create says, "Hi, I'm just listening while eating dinner. Hello, Plan to Create." The other thing that's really interesting to note about this, can you remember that one of Bruz's complaints was that he used voices? And Bruz said, oh, he used an accent on my voice. Wow, that's his character voice, Bruz. I watched it twice. I kept getting sidetracked by the Hitler haircut, wondering what was up with that. Oh, boy. Hope you're not eating spaghetti bolognese. Thank you, Just Do. I actually was going to have spaghetti bolognese, but then decided against it.
Manufactured vehicles. SCD Remanufactured Vehicles is a Queensland-based company that specialises in importing big gas-guzzling cars from America, remanufacturing them, and then selling them to people with inadequacy issues.
Now remember, Peter Dutton is also the one that set up the GoFundMe for his electric.
SCD Vehicles is run by a man by the name of Eddie Cauchi. Now, Eddie is your typical Sigma male businessman on his grind set. I mean, he claims to be a future Prime Minister of Australia. That's not a red flag at all.
Rufus, thank you, Rufus. Thanks for spending the word, Joe. The super chat to work, peeps. Show Jason. Thank you. Thank you, Rufus. It's great. I love that. The guy says
your typical Sigma male businessman on his grind set. I mean, claims to be a future Prime Minister of...
Look at that. Future Prime Minister.
Australia. That's not a red flag at all. Just a normal, well-adjusted man. Along with running SCD American Vehicles, he runs a multitude of different Sigma hustles.
So let's have a look at all of these. Apparently he runs all of these.
Man. Along with running SCD American Vehicles, he runs a multitude of different Sigma hustles, i.e. companies. But they all seem to operate under his main holding company, the aptly titled Boss Capital Holdings, a company that has been donating a fair bit of cash to the Liberal Party recently. Well, maybe not that much when you see that a recent article in The Australian claims that Boss Capital have turned over $100 million in 2021.
Now that's interesting, considering that most businesses have struggled through the pandemic, but he seems to have been doing rather well.
An almost unbelievable amount of money. Eddie is married to a woman called Jamie Lee Sorbello. Her father is a man by the name of Claude Sorbello, another businessman who runs a company called Brisbane Home Loans, a company that has also donated a significant amount of money to the Queensland LNP. Claude is also friends with Peter Dutton, which, come to think of it, if you're a businessman, being friends with one of Australia's most powerful politicians, a politician who is in control of billions of taxpayer dollars, surely that could come in handy.
Just the shot look on his face is epic. I know. That is not a very good look.
Now, this is where the story turns incredibly dark incredibly quickly. After Eddie got introduced to Peter Dutton, he somehow convinced Dutton to do him a favour. Something awful, something blood-curdling, something completely contrary to the national interest. Eddie got Peter Dutton, who at the time was the Home Affairs Minister, to visit his American car warehouse, and then got him to feature in this ad.
Peter Dutton in a car ad. Why was Peter Dutton in a car ad when he was overseas on national business? The tone which he's delivering this is so different to the Bros videos. It is actually, isn't it? It is very, very serious. And even with the camera angle zooming in as he's, delivering the punchline. Let's just take it back a bit. Watch. See it zoom in. It's zoomed in as he's saying that.
After Eddie got introduced to Peter Dutton, he somehow convinced Dutton to do him a favour. Something awful, something blood-curdling, something completely contrary to the national interest.
Yeah, the way that the camera zoomed in as he's delivering, he's,
Eddie got Peter Dutton, who at the time was the Home Affairs Minister, to visit his American car warehouse, and then got him to feature in this ad.
I still don't know how or why Peter Dutton is allowed to go and feature in a car ad when he's there on alleged business.
Who at the time was the Home Affairs Minister, who visited his American car warehouse, and then got him to feature in this ad. It's so good that it weakens the position of Scotty from marketing as the
One comment today said, Geordie is serious when he wears a button-up shirt. Yes, I probably shouldn't be laughing, but, it is... Look at that! I mean, one of these things is not like the other. One of these things is not like the other. One of these things is out of place. He looks so out of place. I was going to say he looks like a tool, allegedly, in my opinion. SC American Vehicles ad featuring an official visit from Peter Dutton. Car manufacturer uses a visit from Peter Dutton to spruik its products in the cringeworthy ad, but customers say it's turned them off making a purchase. I'd missed that before. So apparently it backfired. People wouldn't buy the cars. Well, he is named Mr. Potato Head.
His American car warehouse, and then got him to feature in this ad. It's so good that it weakens the position of Scotty from marketing as the top dog of the Liberal Party. Check it. I think we can all agree that is the best car ad ever made. Peter gonna give it to you.
I do like their remix version though. Peter gonna do it.
Great. That is the best car ad ever made. Peter gonna give it to you. I guess the song worked.
He can use that for his Vote. Peter, going to give it to you?
If the it in the song is referring to highly lucrative home affairs contracts and the ya is incredibly suspicious front companies and the is referring to all of Australia's money. Peter kind of has a history of doing that. Remember the company Paladin?
Peter, going to give it to you. Oh, I want to know if Peter is going to be in hiding tonight.
You know, the one that was operating out of a shack on Kangaroo Island, yet still somehow got given $500 million worth of government contracts by Dutton's Department of Home Affairs to run security on the Manus Island Detention Centre in Papua New Guinea.
Now, someone tell me. No, I didn't hit mute. Can you believe that? Some of these allegations are made, and remember, these are allegations, although he does have all the receipts. This is what I have to credit him for. He has proof. You can find him easy if you have no headlights.
Run security on the Manus Island Detention Centre in Papua New Guinea. You know, the one that the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea wanted to kick out of the country over corruption allegations? Watch my video about it here for background. Anyway.
Bullhead. So for those of you that are overseas, that live overseas, one of the names for Peter Dutton, this guy, Bullhead, and that's Bullhead is like another word for an idiot, Bullhead. Another name for him is Mr. Potato Head. So if you're following any of the Twitter stuff and you hear people talk about Mr. Potato Head in Australian politics, it's this guy. This is who they're talking about.
It's not just Paladin. A lot of other companies exactly like Paladin pop up around Dutton, such as this strange debt-laden company called NKW Holdings. NKW Holdings is a company run by some of the most politically connected figures in Papua New Guinea, which seemingly might be why Dutton's Department of Home Affairs gifted them $82 million in
$82 million? What?
Government contracts to provide food and housing at the Manus Island Detention Centre.
Food and housing at the Manus Island Detention Centre, which I believe was not even fit for, it was inhabitable and was disgusting. Right. Look at that face. Why did I just kicked out of what?
But just like Paladin, this was another extremely suspect contract, as at the time that I gifted NKW Holdings the money, they were on the Bank South Pacific's watch list for unpaid debts.
So, huge risk in Australia's contract for food on Manus Island. So it was paid $82 million to Feed and Home. And then leaked emails say the contract was a much needed for the strong. It appears to expose taxpayers to unnecessary costs imposed by a company that was on Bank South Pacific's watch list for unpaid debts at the time. And yet the government engaged them and gave them $82 million. Where do you think the money went?
Dutton fixed that problem all right. As soon as NKW got the contract, leaked emails from the bank show that they stopped worrying about NKW's debts because, quote, Australian Department of Immigration and Border Protection are paying every invoice. I suspect there is some inflated quotations in invoices. Yep.
Can you believe that? We were paying for a company's debts.
According to their bank manager, NKW, a debt-laden company, was no longer a risk to the bank because the Australian government was uncritically paying their invoices. Yes, the Liberal Party, the party of strong economic managers, just not for Australia.
Oh, it would be so funny if it wasn't true.
Party. The party of strong economic managers, just not for Australia.
It makes me want to cry.
For heavily indebted detention centre contractors. And
Mr. Dutton, I'm in debt. Can you please pay all of my bills?
this is how uncritical Dutton's department was. It would have been cheaper to chuck the asylum seekers that NKW were responsible for housing and feeding into 5-star hotels. On top of that, you could have fed them lobster and caviar every day. We were paying NKW $1,400 per day.
Can you believe it? $1,400 per day to feed and house 209 asylum seekers at camps. For $1,400 per person per day. They could have all lived in Bruzz's Airbnb. You could have put them in Bruzz's Airbnb. See, this is why I have a problem to get these kind of contracts from government. You usually have to provide a bank guarantee. Or know somebody in a higher place. What on earth do you need $1,400 a day for?
Per refugee. Another leaked email revealed that NKW would lease a campsite from a Papua New Guinean landholder for less than $30,000 a month, but then received $500,000 from the Australian government to allow them access.
Now, I know Dan says then he wouldn't have needed to breach quarantine to feed the chickens. 2 birds, 1 stone. Exactly, Dan. He could have, you know what? He could have had he could have had them all on a work program. He could have had his Airbnb maintained as well. $500,000 per month to act for, and they were leasing it for $30,000.
I could do an entire video on how dodgy NKW is, but this video is going to be long as it is. So how does NKW fit into this story? Well, somehow Eddie Cochran of SCD American Vehicles must have been introduced to Marlon Brunskill, the CEO of NKW Holdings. I wonder if they have any mutual friends.
This is the way he does that. I wonder if they've got any mutual
The CEO
friends.
of NKW Holdings. I wonder if they have any.
I love that. I wonder if they have any mutual friends. Enter. Stage left.
Mutual friends. NKW subsequently engaged in some extremely strange transactions with Eddie and SCD. I have a document that appears to show Marlon Brunskill received a $100,000 loan from SCD in June of 2020.
Okay, dances both on the diet and feed the refugees on an excess. I think I know what you're talking about, the fox, but my video's already gone orange. I don't want to take it any further. So, $100,000 loan.
$100,000 loan from SCD in June of 2020. I also have screenshots of what is allegedly SCD's Zero account and their transactions with PNG commercial vehicles.
Again, he's got financials and everything.
Company set up by NKW Holdings that appears to supply cars to Papua New Guinea. The reason this is extremely strange is at the time of screenshotting, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of invoices to PNG commercial vehicles from SCD were unpaid.
Why?
And at the time, some were almost a year old. Here is seemingly over $300,000 worth of unpaid invoices. I think.
Look at that, 347 days ago, 106 days ago. So where did the money go? It says they usually pay in minus 200 days. Up here, 5 invoices awaiting payment. That's pretty shocking, eh? That's a month's rent.
Almost a year old. Here is seemingly over $300,000 worth of unpaid invoices, I think for cars that were sent to Papua New Guinea. It's been alleged to me that there was a complaint to the Australian Federal Police about the transactions between these two companies. We attempted multiple times to put questions to the AFP.
So it says, hi, I'm from media outlet friendlyjordies. Over a week ago, I sent the attached questions to the AFP, yet no response has been forthcoming. This is despite receiving responses from Queensland Police and the New South Wales Government on the same matter in a much shorter time frame. Could you please send me the AFP's response by Wednesday morning or inform me by tomorrow if the AFP does not intend to respond to the following questions? It's important the AFP are accountable to the public, and we will be sorely disappointed if this email goes ignored, just like the others we sent questions. Has the AFP ever received complaints or allegations of money laundering against SCD remanufactured vehicles, Proprietary Limited, Eddie Cauchi, NKW Holdings, Proprietary Limited, or Marlene Bunskill? I mean, this is where we're going with this money laundering. Has the AFP ever investigated allegations of money laundering against SCD remanufactured vehicles? So,
Australian Federal Police about the transactions between these two companies. We attempted multiple times to put questions to the AFP, yet they refused to answer any of our questions, stating the AFP has no comment in relation to this matter. At the very least, you have to admit there's something incredibly strange about this car company, SCD Remanufactured Vehicles, featuring ads with Dutton, and then the same company appearing to do business with another company, NKW Holdings, whose own bank pretty much assessed wouldn't exist without Peter Dutton's department's intervention.
Rufus says, so they invoice to get rid of the money sent to them. That is money laundering. And Dan says they need to wash out the coke stains. True.
The AFP response, or lack thereof, was also strange. It was also reported that the AFP were in the midst of testing a Dodge car remanufactured by SCD.
Uh-oh. Oh, that's not suspicious, is it?
This is despite Dodge disapproving of the remanufacturing, saying they cannot guarantee the remanufactured car's safety. This was another thing we asked the AFP about, but to no avail. As keep in mind, this could just be Eddie announcing something before it happens in a bizarre self-promotion strategy, as the article also says that the Queensland Police might be testing one of their cars in the future. Yet in a statement to friendlyjordies, a Queensland Police spokesperson said the Queensland Police Service fleet has not loaned, tested, cited or procured vehicles from SCD remanufactured vehicles. It's also worth noting how much more professional the Queensland Police media team were in comparison to the AFP.
He does not pull any punches, does he?
Whose non-response will become even more suspicious when you hear that Eddie is also co-director of another business called Oz MV Holdings with a guy called Matt Johns, who's an ex-AFP officer.
Did you hear that? He whispered it.
It's called Oz MV Holdings with a guy called Matt Johns, who's an ex-AFP officer.
He's an ex-AFP officer.
Matt Johns has also helped Eddie before. It's just a bit before Peter Dutton sued Shane Bazzi. Remember that? The time Dutton sued someone for defamation over one tweet? Eddie also attempted to sue Twitter for a Twitter user's tweet.
The Twitter user's tweet.
Here's the tweet. It was pretty much because the Twitter user tweeted a picture of Eddie wearing a MAGA hat and doing that little circle hand signal. Eddie claimed that was defamatory. The Twitter user was Carrick Ryan, a former AFP agent who worked in counter-terrorism. So Eddie asked Matt if he knew him. This was the response. This guy said some pretty hardcore shit about me. You know him? What do you reckon Jess would? I know him. This is definitely not him. Jess ran the terrorism team for the AFP. Call him some more.
He just used the bruz voice on an ex-AFP officer. Oh no, it's a character voice.
Funny emails I have about the saga appear to be between Eddie and Mitchell Downs. One of Eddie's potential defamation barristers, who Eddie complains to about Liberal Senator Amanda Stoker being afraid to associate with him and also losing customers due to the tweet. Writing, Senator Amanda...
So, he's... Let me just take this back a bit.
Saga appear to be between Eddie and Mitchell Downs. One of Eddie's potential defamation barristers, who Eddie complains to about Liberal Senator Amanda Stoker being afraid to associate with him and also losing customers due to the tweet. Writing, Senator Amanda Stoker's office found these articles and are concerned with any public interaction we may have. Our P&G customer, who'd spent $1.5 million prior to April 2019, just came on board the year before, stopped. In response to the email, the barrister...
I want to just have a look at that, just the second part of that. On a personal note, I'm often called racist since these articles were published. I am 32, have built this business, something I've created a fully funded Australian-owned, which certifies Australian. It's interesting. I am often called a racist since those articles were published. Our Google reviews took an absolute hammering. We paid professional companies to try and something in the first year. Oh, dear me.
Prior to April 2019, just came on board the year before, stopped. In response to the email, the barrister responds with, I'm used to boxing on with the left. Is it just me, or does anyone else think that that's incredibly... The barrister responds with,
I'm used to boxing on with the left. I'm acting for Dr. Reed, the professor who got sacked for something he said on Sky with Alan Jones and Peter Credlin. The imputations are preconious. They are up with the most severe that can be imagined. I can see the reach of them from my own Googling. I am well aware of the circle game too. Hello? Oh! I just have a... Look at the... Interesting, hey?
Used to boxing on with the left. Is it just me, or does anyone else think that that's incredibly improper and disrespectful to the courts and the taxpayer for a barrister to effectively admit he's using the courts to pursue what in the end is an ideological political battle and using defamation as a proxy? It's especially wrong when your potential client even boasts about how the same negative comments and Peter Dutton have helped them bring in record business. Well, what can we say? We had a record day for sales today. Thank you, everyone, for commenting. Appreciate all the comments, especially from the snowflakes. Keep commenting and make us go viral. P.S. The election proved that you are the minority. The Libs support anyone that has a go. Most of our customers are retirees that would have lost a lot of money if the Labor Party got it. We are very thankful that Australians voted for the NSW. At least you can't accuse Eddie of not being grateful to Peter. The Labor Party got it.
Labour, they don't know how to spell the Labour Party.
Most of our customers are retirees.
And I love how he emphasizes it. Have a listen.
That would have lost a lot of money if the Labor Party got it. We are very thankful that Australians voted for the LNP.
He emphasized the buh.
At least you can't accuse Eddie of not being grateful to Peter for all the favours he's done for him. He's clearly very publicly thankful. I guess also privately, as this email shows, he appears to have helped out Dutton in the 2019 election. He's also directly lobbied Peter Dutton's office to give SCD American Vehicles essential business status. And from the looks of the email I have...
Oh! Thank you for sending this one through. I have sent through for consideration by the Prime Minister's office.
He's also directly lobbied Peter Dutton's office to give SCD American Vehicles essential business status. And from the looks of the email I have, Peter's office was quite accommodating. But back to some more LNP connections. For the actual lawsuit against Twitter, Eddie used a solicitor called Jamie Whitehead. The interesting thing about Jamie is that he's a former Queensland police officer.
Oh, who else do we know is a former Queensland police officer? Let's play a game. Who used to be a former Queensland police officer? Right, your answer in the chat. Mr. Potato Head says Rufus, yes. The web of corruption.
Jamie Whitehead. The interesting thing about Jamie is that he's a former Queensland police officer and a former prosecutor for the New South Wales Police. It's been alleged to be that Jamie Whitehead was a campaign manager for a bunch of LNP figures, including a guy by the name of Ryan Shaw. Ryan Shaw, who's an ex-sniper and Afghanistan veteran, was in the 2020 Queensland election, the LNP candidate for Nudge. I have emails to show that at the very least Jamie was using his law firm to help Ryan's campaign.
Wow. There's a lot. This is a big mess.
Ryan Shaw is now the federal LNP candidate for the marginal Queensland seat of Lily. But more importantly, Ryan has held various roles in his business ventures with vague titles such as program officer and strategy manager. So we have an ex-AFP agent, ex-cop/prosecutor, and ex-soldier, most with strange ties to the Liberal Party, all on Eddie Cochrane's payroll, and I'm not even listing all the military/cop ties I've heard about.
He's good.
The reason I find this fact incredibly interesting is because I had a joke here, but I think a picture tells 1,000 words.
I don't know, Bella. I wondered the same thing.
AFP agent, ex-cop/prosecutor, and ex-soldier, most with strange ties to the Liberal Party, all on Eddie Cochrane's payroll, and I'm not even listing all the military/cop ties I've heard about. The reason I find this fact incredibly interesting is because I had a joke here, but I think a picture tells 1,000 words. Here's Eddie at SCD headquarters, what appears to be some lines of white powder in front of him.
I hadn't picked this up before. Look at that. Can you see that? I can't make it any bigger, but that's like, you know what? Oh, wow, I missed that before. Hello, Cal.
I had a joke here, but I think a picture tells 1,000 words. Here's Eddie at SCD headquarters, what appears to be some lines of white powder in front of him. Here it is from another angle.
Look at that. Gee, it's a weird place to have talcum powder, isn't it? Or were they doing some baking and rolling out the dough?
Here's another angle with the advantage.
No way. The picture. Look at that. See, I didn't see all of this before.
Lines of white powder in front of him. Here it is from another angle. Here's another angle with what appears to be a man attempting to smell the desk using some sort of tubular.
He's trying to smell the desk.
In front of him. Here it is from another angle. Here's another angle with what appears to be a man attempting to smell the desk using some sort of tubular device.
Smell the desk. Smell the desk. I could listen to them again.
Lines of white powder in front of him. Here it is from another angle. Here's another angle with what appears to be a man attempting to smell the desk using some sort of tubular device. Here's that same bench with no one sitting at it. Oh, the powder seems to have diminished greatly.
I just love how he just goes, and the powder has somehow diminished.
The man attempted to smell the desk using some sort of tubular device. Here's that same bench with no one sitting at it. Oh, the powder seems to have diminished greatly. Oh, maybe that's what they were doing with the tubular device. They're cleaning it up.
Oh, I want that. I want the $100.
At it. Oh, the powder seems to have diminished greatly. Oh, maybe that's what they were doing with the tubular device. They're cleaning it up. Here's what I'm told is Eddie's bathroom. Man, this white powder's everywhere. Maybe they're trekking in the beautiful white Queensland sand.
How did the beautiful white Queensland sand get on top of the bench? Oh dear. I had a very long interview.
Get a vacuum cleaner, guys. It's so much better for removing mess than
Right on.
I'm told is Eddie's bathroom. Man, this white powder's everywhere. Maybe they're trekking in the beautiful white Queensland sand. Get a vacuum cleaner, guys. It's so much better for removing mess than that small tube you had.
Get a vacuum cleaner.
Trekking in the beautiful white Queensland sand. Get a vacuum cleaner, guys. It's so much better for removing mess than that small tube you had. You can clearly afford it. And just for good measure, here are some more pics of that same bench. These pics just might explain Eddie's completely manic whiteboard.
Upstairs. Yeah, I've got lots. I'm only on to topic number 2.
Concept from the 70K. Restructure KJ. Erin Condren.
Hang on. He just said restructure KJ. Have a listen. Listen.
This might explain Eddie's completely manic.
Look, restructure KJ. He's going to restructure KJ, people. He's going to restructure KJ. KJ. Let's go have a listen. Because he says restructure KJ. Have a listen.
Just for good measure, here are some more pics of the bench. These pics just might explain Eddie's completely manic whiteboard. Concept from the 70K. Restructure KJ.
Restructure KJ. Oh, that's just made my day. Restructure KJ.
Measure. Here are some more pics of that same bench. These pics just might explain Eddie's completely manic whiteboard. Concept from the 70K. Restructure KJ. Sorry, did you read one? Eddie, I've been told that's a picture of some of Eddie's scribblings on a Guess His Ideas board.
Guess His Ideas board. Oh, it's a nasty job. But it needs doing. With our lawyer says when the government realises there is a problem with KJ. I know. What's left from 70K?
Board. I wonder what Dutton ATS means. I think it's something to do with the federal grant program called the Automotive Transformation Scheme, which is a little scary because it's been alleged to me that engineers at SCD will work under the influence of drugs, and I've heard of instances of employees walking in on others doing coke in the bathroom before work. It's also alleged to me that along with partaking in a certain white powder, Eddie also sells it.
Oh, again, notice the camera angle zooms in because he's getting to the serious points. So let's have a look.
Guess His Ideas board. I wonder what Dutton ATS means. I think it's something to do with the federal grant program called the Automotive Transformation Scheme, which is a little scary because it's been alleged to me that engineers at SCD will work under the influence of drugs, and I've heard of instances of employees walking in on others doing coke in the bathroom before work. That's all.
Well, as long as it was, well, I shouldn't say doing, but, you know, there could be other things you could be walking in and seen in the bathroom. I'm just saying. But
Also alleged to me that along with partaking in a certain white powder, Eddie also sells it. Now, to be clear, I'm not particularly interested in pinning drug use on individuals. That's a personal choice. But, if true, I am concerned with it allegedly being this close to the AFP Liberal Party and remanufacturing vehicles. I don't know.
thank you, Cal. Jordan is like a bloodhound after a loose prisoner. He is, isn't he? I must say that shirt is very nice. It's a very nice shirt.
I am concerned with it allegedly being this close to the AFP Liberal Party and remanufacturing.
And if Katie Joy is watching, not only are you going to get restructured, but he's also keeps saying allegedly. There's a lot you can learn. Better the bathroom than the chapel. Well, that is correct. I worked it out. Has connections to wizards.
In pinning drug use on individuals, that's a personal choice. But, if true, I am concerned with it allegedly being this close to the AFP Liberal Party and remanufacturing vehicles. I don't know the scale it's sold on. It could be minuscule. It might not even be true. But I do have someone claiming directly to us to have bought a few $100s worth from Eddie. Which I don't know, at the very least, might help fund the sex worker parties that take place at SCD vehicles.
He went there, didn't he? Yeah. So now we got to the other thing. So he's not saying it's true, but he's had somebody allege. Cal says, thought the same thing. Only time we see JS in a collar at the core.
Someone claiming directly to us to have bought a few $100s worth from Eddie. Which I don't know, at the very least, might help fund the sex worker parties that take place at SCD vehicles. Sorry to get all eyes wide shut on you, but yeah, they have eyes wide shut parties.
They have eyes wide shut parties.
The only difference being, instead of that spooky music playing as you walk through an ornate mansion, seeing elites from politics, business, and entertainment in Venetian marked supermodels, it's on the floor of a car dealership. I'm guessing either Triple M or Hardstyle playing.
Wait, hang on, is KJ part of the SDZ trophy engine needs to be restructured? I don't know, but that's what it said, that KJ needed to be restructured.
Entertainment in Venetian masks supermodels. It's on the floor of a car dealership with, I'm guessing, either Triple M or Hardstyle playing. And no masks, but I guess there's elites from the Queensland LNP that could be in it at least. Here's a picture for one.
What?
If Ryan Shaw, the current LNP candidate for Lily, has attended any of these sex worker parties or any parties like this. Questions to him, he didn't answer.
He didn't answer on time or personally. More on this at the end. When the worlds collide.
Let's be honest, even if he had attended, they'd be nowhere near the most red-hot events he's been to, as he's hosted dinners attended by Barnaby and Joyce.
I love that line.
LNP candidate for Lily has attended any of these sex worker parties or any parties like this. Questions to him, he didn't answer. But let's be honest, even if he had attended, they'd be nowhere near the most red-hot events he's been to, as he's hosted dinners attended by Barnaby. You guys want to go shooting after this? The Liberal and National Party connections to these people and businesses are extremely suspect. I've just scratched the surface. The former LNP leader of Queensland, Deb Frecklington, has also appeared in SCD's videos and spruiked them on the Facebook page.
Wow.
We know that LNP Senator Amanda Stoker's office has been in contact with them. Just look at Eddie's Instagram and you'll see a who's who of little politics. Here's him with Julie Bishop. Oh,
I want your cash stuffing book too, Tetsuya. Oh, I will fly Air Force One in the future, he says. Oh, Eddie for Prime Minister, 2030. We don't have an Air Force One, you stupid idiot. We have an RAFF. Duh.
I will fly on Air Force One in the future. #Conquer 2030. #Eddie for Prime Minister 2030. Well, that picture of Obama exists, so anything's possible, eh, Eddie? This guy's either the most delusional car salesman on earth or Andy Kaufman with no audience. Maybe he's the greatest comedian of our time, maybe. But it's his relationship with Peter Dutton that raises serious questions. Peter Dutton is Australia's Defence Minister, and to have him associated with people in his own party potentially disconnected to illicit substances is extremely concerning.
Yeah, the RAAF plane. Honestly, with petrol at $2 a litre, who can afford to run these? I know, $2 a litre is disgusting.
I believe Dutton's department's rewarding of contracts on Manus Island means its own inquiry, as there are legitimate national security concerns if the Australian government isn't choosing contractors on merit. The questions raised by NKW's potential domestic connections only adds to that concern. I mean, for f***'s sake, if Dutton, the tough-on-crime ex-cop defence minister, is appearing in videos with this guy, I don't know if you can trust Liberals on anything. We attempted multiple times to put these questions to Peter Dutton. We confirmed that Dutton had received the questions, and as of filming, we haven't received a response. As mentioned earlier, we attempted multiple times to put various questions to the AFP about potential investigations surrounding these companies, ex-AFP employees and their connections to these companies, and if the AFP did indeed, as claimed in the press, test vehicles.
Well, Cal, I was thinking about buying a bicycle, actually.
From SCD with an intention to enter a commercial arrangement with them. The refusal to answer any questions by the AFP is extremely disappointing and
Just Doom, that's why he's called Mr. Potato Head.
concerning, as these are public interest inquiries about your tax dollars potentially being given to this guy.
I agree. It's about Voldemort. I agree. I want to know where my tax money is going.
By the very agency meant to stop this shit. We also attempted to put questions to Marlon Brunskill of NKW Holdings, and as of filming this, received no response. We attempted multiple times to put questions to LNP candidate for Ryan Shaw, and my producer Christo even had a brief phone call with him, yet we received no response. Side note, just hours after our lengthy deadline had passed to answer these questions.
Now, this is very interesting. So, what's really interesting, look at this email. So it was about workplace culture. SCD remanufactured vehicles should be addressed to the management of the business. Ryan Shaw has denied all knowledge of events that you alleged. He worked for SCD for 12 months between November 2020 and November 2021 before changing to a part-time role with Australian owned. The question suggesting that Mr. Shaw was witness or party to events as described by you is extremely distressing to him. I'm advised that he does not accept any of these events occurred as you described them, and he's not aware of any of the claims that you assert have been made against one of the owners. I can read without a lawyer here. Only for a little bit. Like many Australian Army veterans who saw active combat, Mr. Shaw battles with ongoing mental health issues. What's that got to do with... Mr. Shaw has over the past few weeks been considering whether he should continue as the candidate for Lilly. Mr. Shaw has withdrawn as LNP's candidate for Lilly in order to take care of his mental health, and we hope that you are respectful of that. I refer you to Mr. Shaw's statement on his Facebook page. This is what really irks me, when people who are in the poo start blaming their mental health. He didn't need to put the last statement in that, in my opinion, that last paragraph didn't need to be there. Ooh, and he just needed to say that he was withdrawing. What does having ongoing mental health issues have to do with the fact that he was working for a dodgy company?
Phone call with him, yet we received no response. Side note, just hours after our lengthy deadline had passed to answer these questions, and we'd already filmed this video, we got a response from the LNP on behalf of Liberal candidate Ryan Shaw. This is it. Pause it if you want to read it in full. He's withdrawn. He's no longer the candidate. Ryan then made a Facebook post announcing his withdrawal as the LNP candidate for Liberal.
Now he's saying it's with this campaign has been tough for my family, man. I'm struggling with the effects on this on my mental health and PTSD. I need to take some time. I understand that he needs to do with his mental health, but running for what would he have done if he became the local member?
This is it. Pause it if you want to read it in full. He's withdrawn. He's no longer the candidate. Ryan then made a Facebook post announcing his withdrawal as the LNP candidate for Liberty. I just find it very strange that the LNP claimed that Ryan has been considering withdrawing for weeks because he was actively campaigning just the day before we received this email. He's been campaigning vigorously for over a year.
Isn't that interesting? The day before he was campaigning.
We attempted to put questions to Scott Morrison and Queensland LNP President Lawrence Springborg about whether they were aware of any allegations against their candidate for Lily, but received no response.
Hello, Terry. I'm only on the second story. We're about an hour and 15 minutes in. We're in for a long stream tonight. So buckle in. We've still got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got about 6 or 7 topics still to discuss.
We attempted multiple times to put questions to Eddie Cochwa. We received a response from his lawyer requesting us to direct correspondence to him.
He's currently seeking legal advice.
And then after resending the questions, received a legal threat. It's better treatment than others received who've alleged they've been intimidated by SCD employees, including Eddie and Liberal candidate Ryan Shaw. It seems the strange case of Peter Dutton SCD remanufactured vehicles yet.
So, and I'm going to try and timestamp everything so you'll be able to pick up, when this is all over, you can go back and see the bits you haven't seen.
By SCD employees, including Eddie and Liberal candidate Ryan Shaw. It seems the strange case of Peter Dutton SCD remanufactured vehicles, the AFP, a bit of white powder, a federal Liberal candidate, and Papua New Guinea is yet to be solved. But at the very least, if you're in Dutton's electorate of Dixon, you can now let everyone know about the company. I guess companies with their local member keeps. Like and subscribe, and you can sign up to our Patreon as investigations like these take a lot of time, effort, and risk.
Did you see what he wrote there? I missed that again. I tell you, this has been good.
Like and subscribe, and you can sign up.
Friendlyjordies is creating chaos.
To our Patreon as investigations like these take a lot of time, effort, and risk. We'll be able to complete more of them if we have more money. Plus, we're actually upgrading our Patreon to give patrons some decent benefits like exclusive content, which may or may not include more info about this story. So come on, Eddie's lawyer, sub to my Patreon. You can't sue me over anything in this vid, but maybe if you give me $10 a week, I'll give you something back.
I love that. Eddie's lawyer, what?
Like exclusive content, which may or may not include more info about this story. So come on, Eddie's lawyer, sub to my Patreon. You can't sue me over anything in this vid, but maybe if you give me $10 a week, I'll give you something back.
That is very, very scary. I mean, look, we have laughed through this video. However, it's not really a laughing matter. Some of the allegations in that story are quite frightening, and horrify me. But the way that friendly, yeah. So for those of you that what are your thoughts on this? There has to be questions to be answered. Now, what I'm really interested, what I've got here. Where is it? Who thinks that did lines off Dutton's head? People are actually like, this is his Twitter. Someone says, I've sent a report to the Australian Commission for Law Enforcement Integrity and used screenshots from your video. I'd recommend others do the same. to force this further as it breaches duties. Way too many questions to be answered. Dutton is not going to need a lot more, more than a tube of device. How does this work? 7.9, yeah. Someone says, Peter Dutton, please do the honourable thing and provide a simple response to questions without going down the seemingly obligatory defamation route, which as a taxpayer I will vehemently refuse to support. Very good point. The same Peter Dutton who sues random Twitter users for defamation and even tried to have the public foot the bill for MPs to sue their constituents. Won't even answer a simple question. Now, this was interesting. I found this in the replies to your outstanding piece of journalism. It's a grift that keeps on giving. Dutton has told my hubby for 2 years now because of our business operates out of PNG. Sadly, for the lying Aussie Liberals, the title to Manus Island is in my husband's name. The landowners did that to protect it. So the military base Reynolds said she built on Manus doesn't exist. So where is that money? It's people like my husband who see too much while working abroad. So to silence them have tried to bury us. Channel 9 60 Minutes did a taped interview about this story over a year ago and Costello stopped it from going to air. So much more to this story now that we are returning serve legally. So interesting that somebody has actually put there that it would seem like the mainstream media, according to this comment, that the mainstream media has known about this, that Channel 9 did a story and Costello, so it's not new. It's not new. It's been going on since we had Costello. Where's Abbott? Yes, my cash stuffing. I need to do that too because I'm a little bit behind on that. I need to get that back. So this is Mark Hugh. I don't know whether it's called Mark Hugh Lawyer or whatever, but this is very interesting. This was their response, and the other thing is the Friendly Jordies piece on Dutton and others today would make an interesting first test case for the new public interest defence, particularly as to the requirement of reasonableness. And then someone says a quick Google search revealed that one of the people mentioned has already tried to take Twitter to court for someone saying something nasty about him. So, so that's the court case that was in the District Court of Queensland. Peter Dutton is mentioned throughout Queensland judgments. Eddie Cauchi versus. For anyone need clarification of the white powder, read the snap or the entire judgment. So has Dutton sued Carr yet? Because remember, get ready for my stream. Oh, good night, Rufus. So says if it goes to court, yes, most reasonable people would feel these events coming to light as Jordan has presented them would most definitely be in the public interest. So reasonableness. So it would seem, it says what he did shows real journalists are not doing their jobs and makes me mad. They consider him only to be a comedian and not a journalist. True defense of truth. Refer Christian Porter. Then Ben Robert Smith says, "Hold my beer," and look how well that's going. Now Dutton says, "Hold my unidentified substance to get the popcorn." Now, what's interesting is that none of the mainstream media have actually picked up this story. It's been really Yes, my cash stuffing. Yes, I need. Yeah, I need to get myself sorted. I'm doing, Kel. I'm redoing my store, but yes, it is in there. Yeah. Yes, my little book, my cash stuffing book is there. So, it is just amazing, this whole thing about Dutton. All right, what else? What's this one? I'm just trying to all right, so need to put a trigger warning against this one. We are now going to talk about Alan Tudge. Yes, another federal MP behaving badly. How many Liberal National Party politicians have been accused of inappropriate behaviour, particularly against women? And I mean, I would shudder at this. Yes, Bella's put a huge trigger warning. This is a huge trigger warning. Okay. So the Alan Trudge made a statement today. I welcome Dr. Vivian Tom's report, which finds that none of Rochelle Miller's allegations against me for the alleged events in 2017 was substantiated, nor was there any breach of ministerial standards. Hang on a minute. You mean hang on a minute. You mean sleeping with a staffer is not against ministerial codes? I thought there was a bonk ban. Or was that before the bonk ban? I don't know. I thought that was banned. So he said, apparently the report showed that there were no breaches of ministerial standards. Really? Okay. The second inquiry created at the request of Miss Miller, and the second time that allegations was dismissed. I deeply regret the consensual affair with Miss Miller in the second half of 2017, when both of us were married with children. Love and marriage go together like. Sorry, I shouldn't be making fun of that, but just the way that was, just the way that he wrote that. So, did he actually have this written? Like, it says, I deeply regret with Miss Miller in the second half of 2017, when both of us were married with children and in our 40s. It should never have happened and has caused hurt to our respective families. It caused the end of my marriage that year. Despite Dr. Tom's finding, given the impact of the allegations on my family and myself, I've requested not to be returned to the front bench before the election. In the meantime, I will focus on my health, my kids, and my electorate. I'll not be making any further comment. That is a weird. I bet you he didn't regret it at the time. So here is this law firm. This is their Twitter page. I love it. I mean, it says the Liberal Party room must be literally ghastly. None of them can complete a sentence without doing it. So oh, is there a real, I don't know, Terry. I don't know if there is a real answer. I really don't know if there is a real answer to it. I don't know. I really don't want to know. So this is the article. says, Alan Tudge. Alan Tudge quits ministry despite review of affair and abuse claim he hadn't breached the rules. So he's quit the cabinet despite insisting on the investigation into an affair and alleged abusive relationship with former staffer had cleared him of breaking any rules. Ask Mr. Tudge's ex-wife whether he broke any rules. Mr. Tudge has strenuously denied the allegation, but he stood aside as Education Minister late last year when the Prime Minister announced the investigation into the claim. Mr. Morrison said the inquiry run by former public servant Vivian Tom had not made a ruling that former frontbencher had breached ministerial standards. Dr. Tom found that the evidence considered in this inquiry does not provide a basis for a finding that Mr. Tudge's conduct breached the ministerial standards, Mr. Morrison said late on Friday afternoon. And for those playing along at home, Mr. Morrison is currently in isolation after getting COVID and attending lots and lots of events and spreading the virus. Anyway, I've said today he informed me that in the interests of his family and his own well-being and in order to focus on his re-election as the member of Aston, he is not seeking to return to the front bench, and I support his decision. The investigation was launched after Mr. Tudge's media advisor, Rochelle Miller, went public with her claim. The pair were involved in a consensual affair in 2017, but Ms. Miller alleged it became an emotional and, on one occasion, physical abusive relationship. She accused Mr. Tudge of kicking and swearing at her while they were in a hotel bed together. Ms. Miller did not participate in the inquiry because she said the terms of the investigation forbade it from investigating any allegations which might amount to criminal conduct. So the terms of the investigation meant that it wasn't going to, it's one of those investigations that you do when you don't want to have an investigation, but just so that you can say that you've had an investigation. In a written statement released soon after the Prime Minister's statement, Mr. Tudge insisted it was the second time allegations against him had been dismissed. So he won't return. So there's a chance if he gets re-elected, and if the government was re-elected, he would get back onto the front bench. So he's had the safe Liberal seat of Aston in Melbourne's outer eastern suburbs since 2010. So that is the Tudge. I was going to say the Tudge affair. Oh. So, okay. Let's go. Let's lighten the mood up a bit. Let's talk about KJ. It was brought up in the video. It was brought up. I cannot believe we've got a link. We've got a link to KJ. Well, I didn't see it. I don't know. All right. So there has been a new cult that Katie Joy has been investigating. Again, whenever we talk about Katie Joy, KJ, we have to put a trigger warning. Now, there's this Wilkins sisters that has actually said, must watch, what a breakthrough. We cannot thank Without a Crystal Ball enough for uncovering this information. Please watch the full live stream on her page. So there is people who are sending people to her page. Now, this is where we get interesting. We've got yikes. Katie Joy will take your story and absolutely destroy it. Please, please, please take heed to all the warnings and cut ties immediately. There are so many advocates out there who can do this story justice. It deserves. KJ will have your family in a defamation lawsuit if you aren't careful. The info about her is easy to find. She's the last person you should be working with. As I said, I don't know what post you're talking about. It says, please be aware of this woman. She's done a lot of damage to many people. Please do your research. I beg of you. This is the Preacher Boy. Do we know the story? If you don't know the story about Preacher Boy, he actually is an advocate, and he actually was in the IBF, or one of the fundamental groups, came out of it, and now shares other people's stories. He says, be careful with trusting without a crystal ball. There are many amazing advocates out there who are consistent, truthful, and genuinely care. KJ has a very poor track record. Wishing you the best getting your story out. Yes, Preacher, yes, and she spread so many lies about you when you no longer wanted to work with her. I still remember that. Someone says, thank you for saying something as you have been a victim to KJ. Disgusting behaviour. See ya, Dan. She accused this man of being racist and misogynistic, all because he did his research on her after coming on a live with her and chose not to associate with her again. She's done that to everybody she has come in contact with her. She burns bridges more than anyone I've seen and is the biggest hypocrite I've ever witnessed. She loves to play victim and tell one-sided stories full of lies and will hit any low to seek revenge on anyone who doesn't like her. She never takes accountability for her vile actions and uses her child for sympathy and money anytime she's in hot water, and is beyond rude to the people who support her. How anyone still does is beyond me, but I've seen it's because they are no better than she is. See ya, Cal. I just got deleted, so I'll say good night to all Cal for now. Right, thanks, Cal. I don't know, yes, so I haven't seen the comments, so I don't know. Yes, she'll make it worse. She's not the right one. Please find her on Reddit and YouTube. Watch WICB versus what, and then there's a whole pile of videos listed. Please, all allegedly, but find it yourself. Look, KJ, Katie Joy, aka without a score. I was just going to say, so there's people saying, listen to all of us. We aren't wrong. Yes, they have to see it, as KJ herself says about other creators. This is not a good fit. We have to warn the families of all her lawsuits and everything, and save these families from more pain, all allegedly, but everyone is free to look up for themselves. I just want you to know that I commend you for speaking out. I wish there was when she did that to you. I don't believe Katie Joy. Do not trust Katie Joy. Google her. She's currently in 2 defamation lawsuits, a class action lawsuit. She's been sued before 2 times, and no one will sponsor her or collab with her. She's a dangerous woman. And then Preacher Boy says 100%. He agrees with that one. And then someone says, oh, another Dugga Hugger. There's another story about do not trust without a crystal ball. Then someone says, would love to talk to you on the story. And then they've said, please do all and any research on without a crystal ball before using anything she offers you. She has a problem with the truth and does more harm than good. She'll make it up as she goes along. Ask Amy Rochelle King, Preacher Boy, Gam Life Guru, and Todd Chrisley. She's harmed so many. Please be careful. Okay. Yeah, so then there's like, do not talk to without a crystal ball. So anyway, so there's that one. So people that have shared her story, sharing her stuff, are actually getting into trouble at the moment. Are being told by people to watch out. You're not YouTube held your comment. As I said, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I just need to check in with my settings, and I'll see if there's anyone there that's missing. Yeah. So anyway, give me a minute. No, I can't see. I can't see anybody that's blocked from what I can tell. I know it does hold what it deems inappropriate messages for review. So just so that you know. Oh, look, this is a late stream. So we're going to have people coming in and out. I would explain. So anyway. All right. Next thing. So that's all I wanted to talk about, Katie Joy, because I'm just trying to keep it light. But everyone's warning these people to just watch out and beware. All right. So let's go. Let's lighten the let's lighten the load a bit. So the new supercars series is starting. So I think it's anyway, it's car racing. It's called supercars. Used to be called V8s. Not V8s anymore because they don't make Fords and Holdens anymore in Australia, and so they're mainly Mustangs and I don't know. I don't even pay attention to the other side. I only care about the Mustangs. But AAA is one of the teams. And it says AAA takes legal action against ex-engineer. Now, last year it was stated that this guy, David Cauchi, was going to go to another team. So what happens is at the end of the season, they all swap teams. They all, people's contracts get removed and cancelled, and they go on to other teams. Well, 888 and Race Engineering has stated David Cauchi is in breach of his ongoing contractual arrangements. So Cauchi moved to Grove Racing in the off-season, having departed Red Bull Racing. That's normal. They depart, the decorated engineer was recruited by Grove Racing as its new team principal. The deal was announced in October last year, 4 months before this 2022 season in Sydney event. So it actually was announced, it came out after the Bathurst. Cauchi, who's the championship lawyer in 2021, is understood to have been instructed to undergo 6 months of gardening leave. So let's have a listen to this.
Here's a colour-coded map for the trip. Read at Toyota Service Centres.
I don't want the ads.
Pink ones? Date nights.
With over 200
What stupid
Toyota
ad?
service centres across the country, contact your dealer to book a service today. Oh, what a feeling. Toyota.
All right, let's have a look.
Supercars wouldn't be supercars without a little bit of drama to start the season. It's already happened to some breaking news here at Sydney Motorsport Park this morning. 888 Race Engineering putting out this statement confirming that they have commenced legal action against their former employer and now new team principal David Cauchi at Grove Racing. We heard towards the end of last year that he would be leaving 888 Race Engineering, where he's been employed for some time, to take up a new position with Grove Racing, and they've responded saying that this is a private matter between David Cauchi and 888 and it'll be a legal matter between.
I haven't been able to find where it's been filed.
Parties. So our ears pricked up when we saw him at the test day for Grove Racing a couple of weeks ago, and of course now we've noticed him here today at Sydney Motorsport Park in team uniform, on the tools, ready and raring to go. So what is your take on what's unfolding?
Now, it is actually normal to not be able to work somewhere else for a definite period of time. It all comes down to what is in the contract. And this gardening leave. So Grove Racing it wasn't as if they didn't know that he was going. So anyway.
What's all of this about?
So there's two key aspects to this, Jess. Gardening leave in our business is not new news. So what Roland and Triple Eight would have negotiated with David Cauchi upon his departure, when he decided that he was going to leave and go to Grove, there would have been a commercial arrangement struck between David Cauchi and Triple Eight to understand the amount of time that he needed to be away from the industry before he could pick up a new role. That's out there. That will be a private, confidential deal that they've got. Second part is that he's come out now, and as you said, he was at the test day and he's arrived here. Clearly, David thinks that he's okay to do it. You don't arrive and think under any pretense that it's going to be illegal. So it's all the gamesmanship. In history, I reckon the thing that fixes it mostly is money.
Yes.
Right.
Fixes most things.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting to see what, if any, impact all of this behind-the-scenes stuff has on the teams as they try and just crack on with it here today.
So yes, so they're saying he was on gardening leave, but again, determined. We don't know, but again, this is going to be really, really interesting. Because as I said, it was announced in October. November, December, January, February, March, April. I mean, he's one. All right, so even if we go gardening leave, he's about 1 month short. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. But it's actually stated allegedly that it was stated that that AAA is also suing Grove Racing as the new employers. So this is going to be interesting because, you know, when we get to law and sport, it all gets exciting. You know, I'm really sad. All right. So I'm going to keep an eye on that one. All right. So let's keep going. As I said, we're still working this out. Still got lots to do in hour 43 in. Wow. All right, another thing. So the poor I shouldn't say the poor LNP. I know for a lot of you wouldn't be interested. Like, as I said, that's a legal case. That, you know, got me all excited. Oh dear. Where are we? Oh, I'm in my home. This is so New South Wales Liberal Party is in some trouble. It says a New South Wales Liberal Party temporarily dissolved after months of factional infighting. So the New South Wales Liberal Party will be temporarily dissolved and sitting MPs protected from pre-selection after months of infactional fighting. So this is where it gets really interesting because usually each state of a party has its own branch. So Scott Morrison and Premier Dominic Perrottet will step in and run the New South Wales Liberal Party under a federal intervention order sparked by months of factional infighting. So the Liberal Party in New South Wales can't stop fighting amongst themselves. The federal executive voted on Friday to intervene and try and to resolve the mess, with multiple candidates in key seats still not settled as a result of the mess, just weeks out from the expected announcement of a federal election. So the states, from my understanding, and I could be wrong, the states, the Liberal Party in New South Wales will put forward their list of people that they want to contend the federal seats, etc. But they've been fighting over whose name is going to go on the ballot paper. So the New South Wales, the Prime Minister has backed the intervention if they were not able to stop the fighting. In a statement, the Liberal Party federal executive confirmed it had resolved to unanimously to intervene. So a committee will still run the branch. It says no announcement of a federal election. I wish we were weeks out. The term of appointment of the committee commenced immediately upon a passing of a resolution and ends at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, the 8th of March, 2022, a spokesperson said. Huh? Hang on. It's only for 4 days. All right, it's the 4th of March. So it's only in 4 days. So the intervention ground is based on the circumstances that decisions have not been made in relation to the endorsement of 3 incumbent Liberal members of Parliament as Liberal candidates to recontest the seats in the electorates of Farrer, North Sydney and Mitchell. The committee may select and endorse a candidate for each of these seats. So the federal New South Wales, the federal Liberal Party is now going to pick who's going to run in those seats. Federal Executive today resolved unanimously to request the New South Wales division of the Liberal Party to rectify the circumstance that candidates have not been selected and endorsed in other House of Representatives seats, and for this to be resolved by Friday, the 25th of March, 2022. And a spokesperson for the New South Wales Premier said his role in the committee had been delegated to Mark Keller. The Premier is currently focused on floods and flood recovery. So the Premier of New South Wales has even said, hey, great, thanks for the position. I am not going to, I'm just too busy. I'm sending somebody else. The decision means that if you're already in that seat, you're going to keep it. So it means that Liberal frontbencher Alex Hawke, who angered colleagues by failing to turn up to key meetings and delaying the process, will not face a challenge. Liberal frontbencher Susan Ley and Liberal MP Trent Zimmerman will contest the next election without facing a pre-selection. However, furious Liberals who demanded rank-and-file votes have already signalled that they will challenge the decision in the courts. So this ain't over. So here's the thing. So it's going to be challenged in the courts. So does that mean we're going to have a delay on when the election is going to be called? Very, very interesting. So, no, there's not a lot of time to call an election. All right, so now let's look at the Breonna Taylor shooting. So this is very interesting. This appeared in my feed. Again, trigger warning. I'm just reading what's reported here. I'm not making any judgments. I'm just reporting. Sorry, I'm just reading the reports. So, Breonna Taylor shootings bringing those convictions with Detective Brett Hankinson acquitted. Again, why there's been nothing from KJ on this. We know that she has an opinion on lots of stuff. The only police officer charged of the fatal shooting of a Black American woman, Breonna Taylor, has been acquitted. On Thursday, a Kentucky judge acquitted a white former detective of endangering neighbours of Miss Taylor during a botched raid that killed her in her home. The decision cleared law enforcement of all criminal liability in the case that rocked the US in 2020. Detective Brett Hankinson, 45, was charged with wanton endangerment after his stray bullets hit a neighbouring apartment in the city of Louisville during the execution of a no-knock search warrant after midnight. He was the only officer charged in the case. He could be heard sobbing behind his face marks as the verdict was read 3 times, one for each of the occupants of the neighbouring apartment, according to Court TV reporter who was in the courtroom. Relatives of Miss Taylor who were in the gallery also wept. The jury deliberated for about 3 hours after the hearing closure arguments on Thursday at the conclusion of the 1-week trial at Jefferson County Court. So there's been a lot of debate over this one. So they're stating that adds frustration that nobody is being held accountable, that there is still, just for many, justice has not been served. In his tearful testimony, he said he believed his fellow officers were coming under fire. And Miss Taylor's mother left without commenting. So she also, the family had won a $16 million wrongful death settlement from the city of Louisville. Further. So anyway, that is the latest for that. That is an interesting outcome, and I know that there's been lots of debate. But as I said, I'm not really going to debate it. I'm just stating that it's these. Yeah, I'm not going to really debate it. I'm just talking about it. All right. I'm still going. So we're up to nearly an hour, nearly 2 hours. So we've got flooding at the moment in parts of Australia and Queensland and now parts of New South Wales. Hello, Bruce. How are you? So New South Wales is actually running out of drinking water. Ironically, they're flooded. They're running out of drinking water, and they're spending their days living in their cars. So in an isolated northern New South Wales community of Corky, the stench from the dead animals hanging from the trees is tolerable. They were caught when there were local flooding combined with torrents from the Richmond and Wilson rivers earlier this week, totally isolating the town. So the town's isolated. The major flood level is unlikely to subside until the weekend, but the residents are able to see the water begin to recede around the house. Meanwhile, many of the town's 1,200 residents have been living in their cars on an evacuation centre, but where illness is starting to spread and drinking water is starting to run out. She didn't know that the town was going to a similar fate as Lismore, because so that's where the towns were. We were stranded on a roof for 16 hours in the rain with a 2-year-old child and 7 adults, somebody said. Emergency services were so overwhelmed we couldn't get through. So there was 1,200 residents. So it's totally isolated. So that's the town there. So it's about 28 kilometres from Evans Head to the east and about 50 kilometres from Lismore to the north. So there's Evans Head there, yeah. So Stacey's daughter said when the group was picked up the next day, the rescue boat stopped perfectly at our roof. The water came up to the roof of our 2-story house, and it has never flooded in past events. Stacey said the town has been divided up into separate islands. Right now, we're limiting water and limiting food. My message to the government is please help us. We can't get out. Hannah Gordon said living in her small car with her son and partner for more than 4 days was a bit rough. Having a 2-year-old in a footwell in the front seat to play with his toys is a bit much. We're doing the best that we can. So this is how we're doing it. She was set to force up on the opposite side of town to her flooded house. The water came in at least a couple of feet, so we've lost everything on the ground, but we won't know the damage until we get there. She said, I'm grateful we've got our car. Some people have nothing. Hannah said the emergency services were prioritising getting the elderly and those with medical issues out of town first. They keep telling us maybe tomorrow. So we are holding on to tomorrow. Someone else feels as if they're forgotten, that they're not a main priority. With little reception and internet that we have, we could see that there were things happening in Lismore, and then it shifted to Ballina. And I thought, hang on a minute, what about little Corky here and Woodburn and Broadwater? But the residents are pulling together. So apparently a lot of the water now is just sewage. So that's someone's kitchen. So it's not pleasant. Now I did see something about people talking about the fact that the places where there were candidates, Liberal politics, a lot of the where are we? Someone had shown a map, and where all the extra people had been was in LNP areas. So there's been a 5th person just passed away from the New South Wales floods. And apparently the Premier is saying that it's impossible to get aircraft into the skies. That's why they can't rescue the people in the north. A Queensland Premier announced that there was another person passed away in Queensland. That makes 14 from the current floods. So we've had 5 people pass away from New South Wales, and we've had 14 now in Queensland. So here are some pictures that from the Sydney Morning Herald. Look, there's lots of rain at the moment. So we've got, that's North Richmond Bridge. No. You're going to make me... Let me just do something here. Just hang on. I don't want to access. All right. So flood water looks like they're saying it's going to be the insurance cost is about $1 billion. So here's a little bit of the flooding stuff between the Hawkesbury River. Look, it's like a roof. So now instead of doing daily COVID stuff, he's having to do flooding stuff. Now, there's a bit of controversy because the person that's in charge of the disaster recovery has said, well, don't build in flood-prone areas. But a lot of people say see, we were just looking at Corky. The firefighters in Northern Rivers town cut off by the rest of the state. Floodwaters have helped save a man's life after he suffered a heart attack. So a person came running towards the fire station asking for help. Firefighters grabbed a medical kit and rushed a few doors down where they found a 60-year-old man unconscious, no longer breathing. Local nurse was there trying to resuscitate them, and the fire crew took over. A local doctor located the town's evacuation centre also arrived, and then he was airlifted by helicopter to Gold Coast Hospital. It remains isolated due to floodwaters, and yet they can't get people out because they can't get aircrafts in. Yeah, so copter them out. Or do I just see everything as black and white? So people and the animals being rescued? So this is more warnings, numerous flood warnings. So that's in red. Yeah. So it's gonna be sticking around for a little bit. Can anybody set up a GoFundMe page, or is there any links that you can give out so I can donate towards my own? I don't know whether I don't know of any links. I do know of some, charity groups. So Shane Stone is an idiot. He was chief minister for 4 years. Never told us to leave because we're in a cyclone prone area. So, well, that's right. You're in a cyclone prone area, aren't you? I think, let me have a look. I'll see if I can find. So you've got St. Vincent's de Paul's, you've got, you've got the charities, I know you've got the Salvation Army's got it, I know Australian Red Cross is collecting. If you don't want to give to them, don't forget Dutton's got a GoFundMe. So, let's have a look. New South Wales government says plead to donate. This is from New South Wales government. Who knows? So they're saying that you can give it to the Storm and Flood Appeal or donate to the Red Cross Appeal. So the New South Wales government, New South Wales government have said of established arrangements between the New South Wales government and national not-for-profit Give It. People can also make donations to. So I would just see what you can come up with. So as I said, this has been. This is what that is what the New South Wales government's requested to do. As I said, I know the Salvos have got one. I mean, it depends if you want to give it to charity or whatever. There's the Australian Red Cross. I'll put in some links here. So, but essentially all the give nothing to a Fed government site. Well, yeah, it's up to you. Just need to do, whether you want to. You can also round up your purchase at any Woolworths or New South Wales. So you can round up any purchase in Woolworths in New South Wales and Queensland. So, for example, if it's $1.95, you can ask to round it up. Woolworths are taking donations for the Salvation Army, I believe. That's another one. So apparently from the of course, cash is what people want. Yep, I can do that. So it says right now the Salvation Army emergency service teams, evacuation recovery centres, they've served more than 24,984 meals and refreshments to emergency workers and people escaping. But anyway, so that's their action plan. That's that link there that you can do. There's the Australian Red Cross as well. But as I said, that's up to you. So as I said, there's the Give It appeal. There's Red Cross. So it's all, yeah. I don't want to tell you where to put your money. You know, it depends on where you want to do it. But there's just a few ideas you can do. But people need money because what they find or what they found, I have to also tell you that I'm affiliated with the Salvation Army. So I do know and I have worked in some of those things. I know that people will donate goods, but having 1 million blankets is no good if, for example, women need sanitary items, or they need baby formula, or they need baby nappies, or they need underwear, or and that way they can often sometimes they will give them a gift card that to a certain place, or they will go and buy what they need. I know for the bushfires in Victoria, I know that they were taking shopping lists of what people needed, and buying the products and bringing them back. And there's still, so it's been too much on trash removal. Unfortunately, people dump trash, unfortunately. But anyway. So anyway, so that's, I need to, I feel I need to make that disclaimer, because I need to make that really out there that, I'm sharing the Salvation Army link, and I'm doing it because I know I have an affiliation with it. But you're free to donate to whoever that you seem fit. All right. So that's that one. We're still not finished yet. We're still going. All right. As I was just coming live, I got a notification to say that Russia had gained control of the power station in the Ukraine. That it was announced. So they've captured the damaged nuclear power station. So and of course the Russians are saying that the attack at nuclear on the saboteurs, Ukrainian saboteurs. Russian defense has blamed an attack at the site of the I cannot pronounce that name, and I apologize. On Ukrainian saboteurs, calling it a monstrous provocation. It said Russian forces attacked the plant in the early hours of Friday, setting an adjacent 5-story training facility on fire. A Russian Ministry of Defense spokesman said the nuclear was operating normally and had been under Russian control since February 28. So they're saying, the Russians are saying they've had it for a few days. And Kelsey's going to stay out of this for now. Look, you're entitled. YouTube's just technically I want to say they're making a lot of decisions about what can and can't be on someone's channel. As you know, I'm happy for people to voice their opinions as long as it's respectful. It can be a different opinion. So while I personally don't have a problem of you saying anything that you like, YouTube does. So, but yes, so it's now under control. But the Russians are blaming it on saboteurs. So an ABC correspondent is saying that the Russian appears to be more focused in the south of Ukraine. So China's foreign ministry on Friday urged all sides to ensure the safety of nuclear facilities in Ukraine. China's saying, hey, be careful, which is really interesting. British Deputy Prime Minister Dominic says he finds it difficult to believe a Russian attack on the nuclear power plant wasn't deliberate. Ukraine says someone too close. All this see the fox. Military forces have Ukraine saying the military forces have seized the plant. So it's 45 million have been frozen in an Australian financial institution under new sanctions in response to Russian invasion of Ukraine. Wow, that's a lot of money. So, as I said, it's reported. See, this is the thing, right? They're banning the Russian and the Russian Olympians from competing in the Olympic Games, right? It's not their fault that they have a tyrant, in my opinion. So there are a lot of Russians speaking out against it. So, for example, this is just coming just now. 44 Russian chess players have actually called for an end to the Ukraine invasion. 44 Russian chess players, including the 2021 World Championship challenger, has signed an open letter. See, what's happening is that all of these people are getting banned from competing. And because the leaders made a few stupid decisions. And it says the Ukrainian chess team is the reigning European champion, one of the best teams in the world along with ours. We played dozens of matches and hundreds of games. We've put wrestling above politics, and the Ukrainians responded to us in return. We ask you to give teams, players, and ordinary people from both countries a chance for mutual respect. We are for peace. Stop the war. So you've got Russians now speaking out against it, but they're being barred from being able to play because associations are taking a stance on them. And I don't see why. I don't see why they have to be penalised because they have a tyrant for a leader. And I don't believe that the hardworking, ordinary... Well, Russia lies to its people. Well, that's right. How can you believe? I mean, so I just find it really... I just don't like it because it's always... And look, it's with everything. It's always the innocent that suffer. It's not the people at the top end of town. Do you think ScoMo's suffering hardship because he's got COVID? If he suffered, if he had to actually wonder how he was going to feed his kids because he couldn't work, because if you don't work, you don't get paid, and you've got to isolate for you've got to isolate, and like 7 days of work is a livelihood. How do you know? The top end of town never suffer, yet they make all the decisions. I'm starting to get into I'm about to start on my raise the New Start allowance or onto that rant because that's, But Russian Olympians have been caught doping years and they just banned the flag and the athletes still got doped. So true, Bo. Good points. As I said, I'm just putting it there. And everyone's entitled to what they think, including me. But I just find that, Russia is problematic for other reasons, some of their stuff. But I can't. I just don't really. It's just really hard for me to comprehend. So after a 2-hour, 15-minute marathon, Bella says the children shouldn't have to see or go through it. No, they shouldn't, and they shouldn't be. Why should they be penalised? Same with Afghanistan, But I agree, the people aren't the leaders, So when they're saying when they're saying that we're putting sanctions against the country, it's my point is that it's the people that are going to suffer, not the leaders. They're hurting the you and I of those of not the people that they need to be hurting. So I think that's my point. Once Russian citizens have been affected enough by the sanctions, they might overthrow the government. That's also true. Plan to create. Good point. Good point. I did read somewhere that some Russian millionaire had put a reward on someone killing Putin. But then I was just reading that. I don't know. I can't cite my source. But can they overthrow the government? It's just like you can't blame the people of China, you know. And the people of North Korea, they know no different. And don't forget, some of these people would know no different either. So it's just very interesting. I know it's a very sensitive topic, and some people are going to be not happy with me, and that's all well and good. That's fine, you know. But I just think it's really important that we remember that there are innocent people in this as well. And, you know, the sooner we can get it over. Embarrassed by the way Biden is putting sanctions, but stops short of taking oil from there. Videos have some conscript. Videos have conscript volunteers. Yeah. And that's the other thing, where they've got conscript, you know, what can you do? What can you do? I don't know what you can do. Here's a well. All I know is my heart is breaking, and I just hope that it can be sorted out quickly. That's all I know. I really hope that it's not. That doesn't go on. For the sake of the people, more so than anybody else. Conscription for an invasion is a bad move. Well, remember, the Ukrainians have done the conscript as well. So any male between 18 and I think was it 60 is not allowed to evacuate. So there are, you know, men leaving their kids at the border, wife and kids at the border. So all right. So based on that, I know that we're sort of ending on a bit of a sad note, but look, you know, I think in my stream the other day I talked about how you can donate if you wanted to donate to Ukraine. You're free to do that. But look, thank you for joining me. It's been a big bumper packed filled evening. I feel better for being conscript for a different. And how come? I know. I don't think Putin will stop until he gets Ukraine, and then who's next? Well, that's the problem they plan to create, where he goes next. And I think, for me, the fear is if Russia and China were to join together, then what? Actually, Russia, China, and North Korea would be, yeah. I hate to think. But I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank you all for participating. I want to thank you all for those of you that have been here for the whole 2 hours. What a night. I actually was really tired when I came home from work, and I thought, well, I better set this stream earlier because I'd worked all day and I'm really tired. And I think I said I was iron deficient, and so I'm needing to go rest. But I will be back maybe tomorrow. I will see what happens in this crazy world. This world, all I know is this world's crazy at the moment. Nothing's making sense. And Australia's got a federal election this year, and it seems to be that our federal government politicians are just deep in corruption. It'd be very interesting what will happen if Labor was to get in and they set up an ICAC to investigate the corruption, and suddenly all these ex-politicians are being done for corruption. It'd be very interesting. But as with our lawyer says, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for joining me here on this marathon Friendly Geordies. I tell you, when he said he had a bomb to drop, Katie Joy, that was dropping a bomb. I'm still waiting. But anyway, thank you again. I can't tell you how grateful I am for each one of you, my members, my mods, my subscribers, my viewers, my replay crew. Thank you very much. And on that note, I'm going to bid you all farewell. Say adieu to you and you. And I will catch you next time. Bye for now.